Guys, we're here today. My name is Scott Walker from DNA. I'm here with Bill Barhydt. We're going to discuss what's next for the retail crypto investor. We'll have I think we have 30 minutes, Bill?
Yeah.
We have 30 minutes up here today, so we'll go through a quick background. I'll give you everybody a quick review of DNA, our investment strategies, how we started in it, where we decided to wind up. Bill will go on to talk a little bit about how they did their original raise. We'll learn about the project, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end for the last 5 or 10 minutes. So, Bill, if you'd like to kind of start off and just do a quick 5 minutes on yours.
Sure. So my name is Bill Barhydt. I'm CEO and founder of Abra. Abra is a pretty popular retail investing app for iOS and Android. Allows you to buy, sell, hold, and exchange from a single smartphone app across 70 cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies, 20 cryptos and 50 fiat. We've got users in 75 countries, hundreds of thousands of users now. We're processing transactions at over $1 billion run rate just within a few weeks of launching. So those of you who've been supporting us, we're really excited, and thank you for the support. We're also announcing today that in the next few days we're adding 5 more cryptocurrencies to the app. See if I can remember them all: Monero, Verge, Neo, Nem, and Lisk. So yeah, I got them all. So that'll bring us to 25 cryptocurrencies and 50 fiat currencies. The most popular ones are the ones you would expect: Bitcoin, Ether, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin. But we have people, holding all 25 in different ways. What's really cool about Abra is we've developed this amazing smart contract-based investing platform that allows us to add asset classes to the app very, very quickly, which is why we have 75 currencies that no one else in the world is able to do in a smartphone app. So what the app does is it basically gives you investment exposure to each currency, whether it's crypto or fiat, using a non-custodial wallet. That means you're actually holding your own keys to your own crypto and fiat currencies directly in the smartphone. Abra has no access to your crypto or your fiat money, and this is a huge breakthrough. To my knowledge, we're the only company in the world that can do this, and we use Bitcoin and Litecoin-based smart contracts to achieve this, and I'm happy to get into the details of how that works. But the bottom line is that you can't hack Abra in order to steal people's crypto. So unlike the first generation exchanges, it's impossible to hack Abra to steal somebody's funds. So just in terms of where we're at, we're 50 people now in Mountain View, California here. We've raised about $40 million now in traditional venture, which we can talk about some more. No ICO plans, which is one of the first questions I usually get on that topic. But yeah, so that's Abra.
And how, just a high level, how did you get started in crypto? Where did that journey come from?
Yeah, so I've been at this for a long time, almost 30 years. Let's see. So I was at the CIA in the late 80s, early 90s. Worked in crypto messaging projects there, which is a long story in and of itself. I was at Quant at Goldman, which is why I kind of had to relearn all that stuff that I worked on in the early 90s around derivatives and financial engineering, but that went into designing the synthetic currency of Abra. And then after that, I was at Netscape and worked on some of the first public-private crypto infrastructure in the world. Our team created SSL and X509 digital certificates. If that means anything to you, it's the S in HTTPS when you surf the web. So really been doing crypto more or less since you could. Mm-hmm. And then I've spent a lot of time the last 15 years working on mobile banking and financial inclusion projects around the world, and started a foundation actually in Haiti. I know you're working in the Caribbean now as well. And we tried to bank consumers who send money home to their families using remittances, and just had all kinds of problems dealing with banks and regulators. And the idea of Abra stemmed from the pain that I went through in trying to make these services work in different countries. And ABRA, by the way, is a better remittance app. So the original idea was, how can we eliminate banks from the equation? And that led to this idea of a synthetic currency. The reason that we created a model that allows you to store $1 on a phone without having $1 in a bank account was so that we could leverage the regulatory arbitrage capabilities of Bitcoin in order to create a crypto bank for the first time.
That's really cool.
Thanks.
Great background. So I'll give a quick 5-minute on how DNA came to be and how Wavemaker Genesis, our fund, arrived as well. So back in 2007, 2008, I met another kind of early crypto guy named Brock Pierce. He and I became friends, decided to invest in some software businesses. 2012 came along, and we had been reading about Bitcoin, hadn't really understood it very well, but it seemed like something that we wanted to get involved in. So, like most entrepreneurs, we tried mining. Not recommended if anybody else has had that experience, but after we wound up mining in 2012. The first thing that we did after kind of capturing some of these Bitcoins was decided we wanted to try investing them in other kind of crypto-related or blockchain-related projects. The first thing that we did was we helped a group actually launch the first ICO. We actually did the world's first ICO. This is in 2013. It was a company called, oh boy, I'm blanking it right now. Mastercoin, thank you.
Oh, fans. Mastercoin fans.
So the Mastercoin Foundation launched with smart contracts on top of the Bitcoin blockchain. And back then, we didn't call it an ICO, we called it a crowd sale. We raised about $1 million all in, so we co-invested. Our partners were on the board of directors of the Mastercoin Foundation, and the next thing you knew, our Bitcoin that we invested became worth more than when we invested, and we recognized there was something to this. So a couple of years later, we had invested in a number of different similar types of projects. One of which was called Ethereum. We unfortunately didn't really recognize that there was more to this ecosystem than Bitcoin. So once Ethereum began trading on exchanges and went up in value, we made the bright decision to sell the vast majority of all of our Ethereum. It had gotten to $1, so why wouldn't we? So that was our experience, and my first lesson in actually the different parts of the ecosystem further and further spread out from Bitcoin. So a couple years later, DNA was born. We began investing in a number of early stage projects. Brock and I had also created a venture fund a little bit earlier called Blockchain Capital. Brock was a general partner. I was a limited partner at Blockchain Capital. We had done close to 70 or 75 different investments around the space,
Including Abra.
And a number of different really exciting deals. Then a little over a year ago, I really decided that I wanted to get into direct hedge fund management and becoming a general partner myself. I was just an LP in Blockchain Capital, so I wasn't really involved in the daily decision-making process. So a good friend of mine, David Seymour, who you might have met or seen up here earlier, and I, we launched Wavemaker Genesis. It's actually the 7th Wavemaker fund, but the first crypto-only fund. And we've spent the last several months raising for Wavemaker Genesis, and we are now really active in the community with that. And today we're here to just kind of give an overview for how we launch, what we look for in types of projects. And I'd like to spend a couple minutes, Bill, if you'd go back into Abra and talk about where that project is today.
Sure. By the way, one story. So you mentioned selling ether at $1. I was talking to a friend last week. I did a TED Talk on Bitcoin. I think it was 2011. It was the first public kind of TED Talk on this. And I think it was trading at $1 at the time. And before that, I had mined a bunch. I actually mined on a laptop, which was amazing, right? Because you
CPU mining,
yeah, exactly. But I also bought a bunch. I think it was from Mt. Gox, and as a test, I gave away, I think it was 10 Bitcoin to 100 people. No idea. I helped them set up the wallets because a few were techies, a few were not. But I got a call last week from somebody who I had sent the 10 Bitcoin to, saying, "Hey, didn't you send me 10 Bitcoin like 10 years ago, or not, whatever, or I guess 7 years ago, whenever it was?" And I said, "Yes, I did. And do you think you could help me find that Bitcoin?" I said, "Sure, for 5 Bitcoin." No, I actually told them where it turns out that they did have the laptop in storage, and they were able to get it out.
Wow.
And actually get the Bitcoin, because obviously it's a non-custodial wallet, so that they were holding it in, so they needed the original laptop. So I can't imagine what the breakage is for people in the early days who don't understand key management, right?
I can't imagine, yeah.
I can't imagine. But so just in terms of where Abra's at today, any Abra users here? All right, right on.
Wow.
A few. All right. So the rest of you, get out your phones. No, seriously, I strongly recommend it because it's by far the easiest way to get money into an app. It looks like a Venmo experience to get money in, and you can just quickly get in buying and selling, exchanging across different currencies. And it's actually a lot of fun to use as well. That's one of the pieces of feedback that I love that we get is that, we don't want people putting more money in there than they can afford to lose, but it is also a fun experience. So I mentioned the history of coming through the kind of banking system and getting frustrated with the banks. And so we ended up spending a year and a half developing this kind of smart contract platform. And to my knowledge, it's the only consumer-facing retail smart contract platform in the world that's live today, doing real transactions. I'm not aware, except for CryptoKitties on Ether. I'm talking about Bitcoin. It's the only one that I'm aware of that's live today doing any real volume. And so it's fully functioning in the U.S. with bank integration. Every bank in the U.S. is supported. My focus right now is a combination of getting more currencies live as well as international. We'll be rolling out SEPA support for Eurozone countries later this year. I'm spending a lot of time on that. But the response has been fantastic. I think we're getting a lot of first-time users, but we're also getting people who want to migrate from the exchanges who are either frustrated. We actually have a huge support team. We actually respond.
Yep.
I was reading the App Store reviews, and somebody wrote, love the app, but it's even amazing that you guys respond. Now, I didn't realize the bar in crypto was that low.
It's set really low.
But apparently, Abra set a new bar in terms of, of customer support. But
actual support.
Actual support,
yeah,
yes,
right.
yes. I didn't realize it was a binary thing, but apparently it is. So we get that comment a lot, and I'm just having a lot of fun. One of the things that, and in terms of what's next, right, because I know that's part of the theme here. So when we created Abra, again, focusing on how do we put $1 on a phone, the synthetic currency idea was explicitly meant to store fiat. The fact that we're able to store crypto, other cryptocurrencies using Bitcoin smart contracts is a little counterintuitive. But what it turns out is that when we created this, we didn't realize that we had actually developed a platform to create synthetic anything, literally anything. So that means that using these Bitcoin smart contracts, I can give people investment exposure to stocks, bonds, other commodities, gold, silver, even collectibles, right? My favorite example is baseball cards because it's crazy, right? But if there's a liquid market in something, we can actually create smart contracts in our app now, give people investment exposure to that. Now, why is that interesting? Now, for everybody in this room, getting a Schwab or E-Trade or whatever account to trade is not that hard. But I was just in Mexico last week, right? There's probably, the chairman of the central bank told me that he estimates that there's 300,000 investment accounts in the entire country.
Wow.
That blew my mind. It's just too hard. So he looked at our app, and once we spent 2 hours talking about the future of where this is all going, and he had kind of an aha moment that he had never had before. But he said, if you can use this to allow Mexican people who have reasonable savings, a few $1,000s even, to put that money into US stocks or European stocks or a little bit of gold or a little bit of crypto, that's a huge breakthrough for us. Because our system is not set up to deal even with the middle class when it comes to investing. It's only set up to deal with the uber rich when it comes to investing.
Right.
So this becomes ultimately a global crypto bank. So my vision is that you've got consumers in Africa investing in US stocks. Maybe you have consumers in Indonesia investing in Chinese stocks. People like all of us in the US using this to invest in crypto. Once millions of people have it, it also allows free money transfer because you can simply move the funds between any two Abra users, right? So over time, it really evolves into becoming what we call a crypto bank, where all of this buying and selling in crypto simply creates the liquidity that we need to get this thing global into the hands of millions of people.
One of the really interesting things that I learned about Abra is if you put $1,000 in and you buy $1,000 of Bitcoin, if the Bitcoin goes up, it stays at 1,000. If the Bitcoin goes down, it stays at 1,000.
Right.
Can you explain that?
So that is the synthetic currency idea. So you can use Abra in 70, next week 75 currencies, 50 fiat, 25 crypto. When you store $1 in the app, okay, it is actually stored using Bitcoin-based or Litecoin-based smart contracts. What does that mean? Okay, so the simplest example I can give you is if I owe you money and I didn't have cash, I could give you something worth, let's say I owed you $100. So I could give you some gold worth $100. Now, if you knew you'd sell the gold right away, maybe you would do that. But if the price of gold went up 50% or down 50%, even worse, you would end up with $50 if you sold the gold at the end of the day. Now, going back to my Goldman days, I could actually give you a contract a derivative contract that could fix the value of the gold the moment I handed it to you. The easiest way to do that is to short the gold, okay?
Got it.
Right? So now if I say I've permanently shorted the gold at that spot price, plus I have the gold in my hand, I could say I now have $100
Yes.
at all times.
Yes.
Because the value of the gold plus the contract together will always be worth $100. Put another way, if the value of the gold goes up, you will automatically effectively lose gold. And if the value of the gold goes down, you will automatically get more gold so that the value stays $100. Hopefully that makes sense. Abra is doing exactly that using Bitcoin-based smart contracts. So when you put $100 in an Abra app, you're getting $100 worth of Bitcoin. You're entering into a multi-sig smart contract with Abra that says if the price of Bitcoin goes down and you're holding dollars, you actually get more Bitcoin. And if the price of Bitcoin goes up and you're still holding the same amount of dollars, right, you're going to lose the requisite amount of Bitcoin so that it stays that $100. Okay?
Super interesting.
And it doesn't matter whether you're holding a fiat currency or Ripple, Doge, it all works the same way in our system. That's why we're able to add new currencies now so quickly. Because we're not integrating with each individual blockchain, we're simply using these smart contracts to give you investment exposure, which is why we can also do things like stocks and bonds and other asset classes.
And literally a cash-based app.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Really cool.
So the idea was, again, regulatory arbitrage. I need to put the bank in the consumer's pocket in order to get around all the nonsense that I was dealing with and trying to deploy this all over the world.
Right. And can you talk to the different currencies that the app holds?
Yeah. So on the fiat side, it's simple. It's the top 50 currencies in terms of GDP for the most part. Obviously, it's an 80-20 rule. So there's actually 6 or 7 that make up 80% of the volume. But we have people storing stuff in esoteric currencies that many of you maybe have never even heard of. On the crypto side, so we run a market making system. So I should explain how the smart contract actually settles. Abra is actually taking the counterparty risk on those contracts, which means that if the price goes up, Abra is getting the rest of the Bitcoin, and if the price goes down, Abra's making the consumer whole in the contract. So Abra's taking that risk. How is Abra able to afford to take that risk? So like in January and February, when the price of Bitcoin plummeted, we had users who were putting Bitcoin in their Abra app, converting that Bitcoin to fiat in order to get a free hedge on their money. But there's no KYC on that hedge because I'm not storing the Bitcoin, right? But how is it that Abra didn't lose a fortune when the price was falling? Okay, so we run a market-making system that integrates with all of the crypto exchanges and hedges away our counterparty risk in pretty much real time. And it costs me a little less than 1 basis point a day per dollar in the system to do that. And that also has a very interesting effect that it tells us which cryptocurrencies are liquid, to your question, and which ones aren't. So we actually track hundreds of cryptocurrencies in real time. As a matter of fact, I have a Google Sheet. I can even open it on my phone right now, and it will tell me via our office in Mountain View, for all the ones they're tracking, which ones would actually meet our criterion for launching in the app.
Interesting.
Okay. Based upon liquidity requirements, spread, market cap, daily trading volume, how many individual transactions are happening per day, because we can't afford to take the risk that these things aren't liquid. Right? So there's a couple that meet our criterion that we haven't launched yet because we have a little bit of concerns about their liquidity on some of the crypto-to-crypto exchanges. So that's how we made the decision as to which currencies are live. It's not a, people do, by the way, since the day we launched this, I get emails every day. Can you add my ICO token? Why don't you support this token? I mean, literally, I'm not exaggerating, thousands of these emails between our support desk and my Twitter inbox and my email inbox. Everybody wants their token in Abra, but they don't realize that the liquidity requirements for doing this for us are significant.
Right.
And it's not just, hey, let's just add this one today and see how it goes, because we could lose millions of dollars if the crypto exchanges aren't liquid enough to support those assets. But so that's why, you know, it's Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ether, Ripple, Litecoin, you know, and then down the line in terms of the top currencies.
The top 10 or 20,
yeah.
in this case 25.
25, exactly. Exactly. And we will add more, especially as they meet liquidity requirements. You know, like Cardano, EOS, or stuff that we're looking at closely, which will probably meet the liquidity requirements pretty soon. Got it. For example. Yep. 5-minute warning if we want to do a Q&A. Yeah. Why don't we? I don't know if people have questions. Should we do
a Q&A or keep?
You guys want to ask some questions?
Yeah, we'll do a quick Q&A. We got about 5 minutes left till our next group.
I saw a couple of hands go up.
Hey, Bill. It's an honor. My first experience with Abra was getting a friend of mine from Honduras to get his mom the first Visa card in her life, the first bank account in her life. And she then promptly got really excited, put $100 in Bitcoin, and guess what? She still has $100 in Bitcoin. I don't think people here understand what you're saying. Say why a woman in Honduras could invest $100 in Bitcoin in January and still has $100.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I think we have a hand up right there.
Why is that true?
Why is what true?
Why does she still have $100?
It's the same smart contract that she's been holding all along, and so the keys to the Bitcoin, if she's using US dollars in her wallet, simply say if the price of Bitcoin goes down like it did in January and February, she's receiving more Bitcoin to make her position whole back to $100. And that's the magic of, you know, what Abra's created. It's extremely complex in terms of the mechanics behind the scenes, but I can assure you that when the price was falling in January and February, we didn't lose a penny. And that's ethically the most important message that I can give you, because if you felt like you were taking massive counterparty risk by storing those funds in Abra, I wouldn't actually be able to call it a dollar. I'd have to call it some fancy derivative contract, and I'm in a position to call it a dollar, even though it's a synthetic dollar, because I know that I'm going to be able to make your mom whole under all circumstances. So I think we have a question right there.
Sia Nazari from Cigarette Technologies. I have a question for you regarding liquidity. Are you guys into converting the illiquid ICO into any other liquid coin when it comes to transaction? Would that be just only concern for you guys to use liquid or new ICOs when it comes to adding to your system?
Yeah, good question. The question basically boils down to how would Abra support ICO tokens and enable liquidity for people who've got this? We get this request every day for people who are, investing early in ICOs, who want to move money in and out. Using our smart contracts won't work, most of the ICO tokens, simply because they're not liquid enough for our system. So the way we're dealing with this is, and I don't have any announcement as to when we're going to launch this, but we will launch it, is we are going to add native Ether support to the app. And so today, the Ether is actually via Bitcoin smart contracts, ironically. So when we go native with Ether, we'll also support ERC20 tokens, so you can move the actual primary token sale proceeds directly into the Abra app. If that coin becomes liquid, you can use our exchange function in the app, and if it's not, you can simply use it to store that ERC20 token until it becomes liquid. It's the best we can do, because we can't take the risk of having smart contracts against billions of dollars of illiquid tokens. That would be a disaster. So hopefully that makes sense. And we'll try to get to it in the next 6 months is our plan, but no guarantees.
Thank you, Bill, for being with us here today. My name is Benjamin, and I had a question about what you were talking regarding the fixed characteristic of holding currency in Abra. So is there any way to kind of escape that contract? So meaning, let's say if I do hold on to Bitcoin within Abra, is there a way for me to capitalize on the increase in value?
Yeah, so you can just hold Bitcoin as opposed to fiat, right? So Bitcoin is one of the supported asset classes. So the use case that is growing by leaps and bounds in our services, people will speculate on crypto like Bitcoin or Ether. They'll put Bitcoin in the app, and if they think the price is falling, they'll quickly move it to a fiat position, dollars or euros usually. And effectively, it's a free hedge. We make a little bit of money on the spread versus the spot price, but relative to buying like future contracts on like a BitMEX or something, it's very inexpensive. So then when they think the price is going back up, they simply cancel the dollar position by moving it back to Bitcoin. In the app, it just looks like you're exchanging between dollars and Bitcoin, but what you're actually doing is creating and redeeming smart contracts, and which effectively gives you that free hedge that you're asking about.
Okay.
Hello, to the right. I think I'm gonna hijack the microphone real fast.
Hi, Bill. David Ben-Susan from BIS Investments. Thank you so much for opening this up to questions. My question is, you can have a smart contract, right? And that's great for transparency. But if the counterparty doesn't have sufficient liquidity to make good on the smart contract, that smart contract may not be so smart after all. So is there any auditing of the counterparties? Is it transparent? Is there, how does all that work with your system?
Great question, and that is the right question to ask. So today, the way Abra works is Abra is the counterparty to 100% of these contracts. So going back to the gold example, where Scott was shorting the gold, Abra is taking the long position on those contracts. We won't enter into a contract with a consumer unless we can literally make them whole on 100% catastrophic risk, against market falling. So that's why I said in January and February, when the prices fell 50, 60% on a lot of these cryptos, Abra didn't lose a penny because we hedge away our counterparty risk in real time. So the next step around auditing is, today we act as the oracle, which is not the right way to do this at scale. So it's a 2 of 2 model today where Abra is the oracle as well. We're migrating this to be a 2 of 3 multi-sig model where the oracle will be an offshore entity, probably in Switzerland, and that will be a nonprofit organization that Abra sets up, which will be open source and auditable. But more importantly, other companies that want to use a smart contract oracle will be able to contract this company. We tried to find a business model for an oracle function that works, and honestly, we simply couldn't find one. So we killed 2 birds with 1 stone. 1, we made it a nonprofit, and 2, well, actually killed 3 birds with 1 stone. 2, we're moving it offshore so that you can't collude across governments to steal people's money. And 3, it'll be auditable in a way that doesn't affect Abra's internal confidential information. So, but that is definitely the right question to be asking. And any of you who are involved in any kind of smart contract-based applications who know anything about this stuff should be demanding, like the Tether type stuff, we should be demanding full audits of this stuff.
I'm actually going to hijack it real quick. Scott, my question's for you in terms of how you guys are assembling investments. When you're doing these investments with Bitcoin, are you doing them in Bitcoin? Are you pricing in Bitcoin? And how, if so, how are you factoring that into like speculation risk and and how are you advising entrepreneurs to deal with those sort of investments? You know, if they accept in fiat or you know, crypto, what are your thoughts there?
So if I'm getting this right, when we're making an investment in a new project, how are we doing that?
Yeah, is it with coin? How are you pricing?
Good question, and I would tell you that every entrepreneur does it differently. We've seen groups that will set their token against Ethereum. They will set their token against Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes up, they raise more. If Bitcoin goes down, they raise less. Most projects, when raising, will usually hit a US dollar amount. Pick a number, $20 million, and then they'll work to raise that $20 million. And again, everyone's different. We'll typically invest in the manner that works for the project that we're investing in, whether it's USD, Bitcoin, Ether, whatever.
Okay, cool. So you're still seeing the majority of the deals priced in dollar?
Yeah. Oh, normally,
okay.
yes.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks.
I think we have a question up front. This gentleman's been patiently
Yeah. Front row,
exercising his
right here.
arms.
Thank you.
Hey, Evan Greenberg from blockchainbeach.com. So with these smart contract system and the hedging you were talking about some people doing, what are the tax implications there? Because is it truthfully that there's a buy and a sell going on that would have a taxable event? Or is there something within these smart contracts that keeps it off of there?
It's country specific. So in the US, it is a straight commodity trade. So above a certain threshold, you do have capital gains reporting requirements, and the app allows you to export your transaction history in order to fulfill the equivalent of whatever 1099s you would have to do. But every country is different, right? This is pretty similar to how contracts for difference work in the UK. And those aren't taxable because they're considered gambling winnings. So yeah, every country is different, but yeah.
Quick question. I know you guys accept Amex to buy tokens. Are there any plans on being able to pay off your Amex card with those tokens?
Wow, no one's ever asked me that before. That's amazing. I can't believe no one, and I've actually never thought of that. I don't know. I don't see why they wouldn't, yeah. I think, so look, Amex has been amazing insofar that they are a Fortune 100 US bank, right? And they've invested in a crypto company and have publicly been willing to talk about it. Kudos to them for that. There's a lot of things that we're working on that I can't talk about for the future, but that's pretty simple, what you just said. And if people are interested in that, shoot me an email, let me know that you're all interested, and I'll prioritize it accordingly. We actually do a lot of design sprints using the Google model, where we actually go out and talk to hundreds of consumers before we launch a new feature, just to validate that people want it. We tend not to launch stuff on a whim, but if we're convinced that that will drive, the right kind of adoption, then I'd be all for it. It's a pretty cool idea. Who wants to pay their credit card using the Abra app? All right, well, it's a start. It's a start.
That's it in our Q&A. We're
All
out
right,
of time.
we're out of time.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.